listening to the Savvy Musician Show with Leah McHenry, and this is your secret weapon for success in the new music industry.
Welcome once again to the Savvy Musician Show. This is CJ Ortiz, and I'm co-hosting with the lovely Leah McHenry. Leah, how are you doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for joining me today. I'm excited about this show.
Yeah, it's awesome. In the last episode, we began a 5-part series answering the question why your music isn't making any money. I think that's a big question people want to know about, don't you?
They certainly do. It's the number one thing I get asked about constantly. And one guy I actually talked to in Messenger said, "Why do you talk about money so much? You know, you seem like you really focus on sales all the time and bragging about this stuff." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, if you only knew, number one, that it's actually really hard for me to even talk about my numbers. I'm uncomfortable sharing that stuff. But the reason I do is because it's the number one thing our students ask me about, and non-students.
Right.
Everybody wants to know, how do I make more money? That's the one thing, because they know if I'm not making money, then I can't make more music. I can't support myself. I can't fulfill my dream of doing this full time if there's no money at the end of it. I mean, and it's not like money is the indicator of success, but it does certainly give us an idea if we're providing value to the market. It does certainly tell us if there's a demand, and it does tell us some of those things. And so, you know, at the end of the day, it matters. And so
You're so right. I think, you know, Leah, and I know that you speak from experience when you say all of that, but there is that problem, and we're going to talk more about this in the next episode of this series about making a sale and asking for that. But there's this taboo about money. So many taboos about money, talking about it, asking people to buy something, you know, especially with creative people. They just struggle with the whole money thing. And I think people who see your ads online, I think they just don't understand. They don't understand why you talk about these things. But if you didn't,
right.
What possible hope could you offer anybody? If you're not making any money, then what hope do they have of making any money? And so they end up at some of these third-party websites that are trying to cater to musicians, but just leaving the musician broker than when they started.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and I take surveys and polls all the time, just informal ones inside of our Facebook group. I say, hey, tell me what you want to know about the most. That's always the number one thing that comes up is, how do I make more money? And so that's why I'm doing this series, is because it's like, let's talk about the things that really move the needle. Then you know what to really focus on. There's some things that really, at the end of the day, are not really going to affect your bottom line. And so forget about that stuff and start focusing. Everybody has the same number of hours in the day. And so it's a matter of putting your energy and time toward the things that really will affect your bottom line and move the needle. So today we're talking about the shop, your music shop specifically, which is separate and different from your website.
Yeah. And before we get started, Leah, we introduced last episode the Student Spotlight. And these are people that we have grown to know and love inside the private group, where musicians are really learning all of these things in gory detail and applying them. And we get just so much great feedback. I want to share one, though, today. This is from Lauren Meyer in our Superfan system, and she writes, #win. Just got the accounting in from my live show this past weekend, and thanks to the great PR we got from the TV feature, which I pursued thanks to the marketing skills and reframed mindset I've gotten from this course, we made $430 in our share of tickets plus CD sales. So I'm investing a good chunk of that into my music marketing, and I'm so grateful for all the support from this class. And now that my husband is pretty much 100% recovered from his heart surgery a few months ago, I have the time and the bandwidth to get back to work here. Don't you just love hearing something like that?
I love that. Yeah. I love Lauren. I love what she's doing. Just the progress she's made. And she's in a very unique niche. She's in a comedy niche, and she's also doing children's music as well. So it's just cool to see what people are doing in such totally diverse, different genres with the things that they're learning.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, we talked about the last thing about people saying, well, I'm not sure if I'm young enough to do something. Lauren has not even bothered with that. And she's just burning it up with just like she is, funny, engaging, and engaging in the group. And I celebrate her. I love what she's doing. I love her attitude. And man, and again, that's a real blessing for me. Just as, when you brought me in as a coach to help out, it's just the thing that's made the impact on me is just the quality of people here who are very talented. They're passionate, but they're teachable. And that's the thing about it, is you've got to be teachable. So when we start talking about things like, as we did last time, the website, what's your website like, and how much text you're putting on there, and how dated your photos are, or how good your graphics look. This is not personal, right? This is business. This is doing what we can to help enhance the user experience so that you can genuinely make sales with your music online. And so we're busting some myths about what people think. And we did that in the last episode, why they think they're not making music sales. And on most of them, they're just not right. And so we've been putting together now these 5 elements. And last episode, we talked about the website. And today we're going to talk about, as you said, the music shop. When people ask you, Leah, about that aspect of the business, what do they usually say?
A lot of times people I get a lot of questions about, should I use Bandcamp as my main store? And I used that for a long time. What about WooCommerce, which is a plugin for WordPress? What about Shopify? I'm using CD Baby. I'm using whatever. And so I wanted to give people a framework that will help you decide where is the best place to host your music shop. And so the number one thing I want to share with people is you've got to put yourself in the shoes of your fan and potential customer and actually walk through the process of buying something. And you need to walk through that process. We're talking practical now, right, on like your mobile device specifically. And we're going to talk about some of these elements. But the main principle here is, if you can take one thing away from this episode, it's put yourself in the shoes of your potential customer. What are the things they're thinking? The subtle things, like, is this thing annoying? Is this button annoying? Like, what are the things that are occurring to you? And you've got to really become very self-aware of the things that are popping into your head and into your experience as you are going through basically the checkout experience and all of this. So this is going to help you make a decision about where to host your music shop. So that's what we've got planned for today.
Now, yeah, you can almost say, of course, the technology and all this stuff is so important. It plays such a central role. But the key here is to literally come out of yourself and try to think like that end user, isn't it?
Yeah, and man, if you can learn that skill about think like your potential customer, man, you're going to make a ton of money. I mean, that's the best way to market anything. I mean, I always tell people you could market ugly Christmas sweaters. It really wouldn't matter. If you can think like your potential customer, put yourself in their shoes. What do they find funny? What do they find annoying? What's entertaining? What's a good experience, a bad experience for them? That's how you learn to market. That's how you write great ad copy, which is the words that we use to motivate people to action. All of those things will work if you can put yourself in the shoes of your potential customer.
Yeah, I was doing a one-on-one coaching call with one of our group members recently. And we're talking about that very thing. And he said, well, what's the most important thing that I should be thinking about? I said, the most important thing for you to always think about is your customer. The most important thing for you to always think about is your fan and what they're going through, how they perceive things, what their experience is like. And I said, it's like what Leah tells you all the time. You almost need to know them better than they know themselves when it comes to the music and the culture that surrounds music. And that's especially true when because now people are buying online. I was looking the other day, Leah, at my order history from Amazon.com. And I first became a customer back in 2001. I remember the taboo. I remember people warning me all the time, you got to be careful with that online stuff. You got to be careful with that e-commerce stuff. You got to be careful with that buying stuff on the internet. Everybody was scared. It was new. And still, it took a long time to, or just within the last 2 or 3 years now, shopping malls are shutting down at record numbers because people are now doing all of their shopping online. People are getting their groceries online. You're not even calling the pizza place anymore. You're doing it, online, and then they'll get the message. And then next thing you know, you can even pay ahead of time. You don't even have to give cash to the person anymore. I mean, it is rushing headlong online. And so you have to, if you're going to be marketing your music online, you're going to have to think about because think about yourself. I mean, when you go to do that, if a pizza place or a grocery store or even an Amazon, if they make the buying experience difficult, it's
Oh yeah.
from shopping there.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I'm like trying to buy something and I'm like, why are they making this so hard for me? I'm just trying to give you money and you're making it so hard for me to give you money. Why? And it's so frustrating. And I'm just like, if they would just, update this platform and just implement a few things, man, they would make so much more, double their sales overnight.
Yeah.
And so, and on this line of thinking about putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, I wanted to add this. And I want to do a future episode on copywriting, because I know we have a lot to talk about that. Yeah. But this is a principle I learned when I was studying copywriting, but it's a perfect example in implementing this whole shop topic. And that is, nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves.
Right.
And you just repeat that over and over again. Nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves and what you can do for them. Yeah. And if you get that principle, everything will go better for you in life. Everything will go better for you in your relationships too, by the way. Everybody cares about themselves.
That's right. In marketing, we always said everybody listens to the same radio station, WIFM. What's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't tell me about your lawn service. Tell me about my lawn.
Exactly. So when it comes to this whole shop thing, it's not about what you want to do. It's not about what you think is awesome. It's about what does the customer want? What is the experience they want? Yeah. What's going to make it easier for them to give you money? Don't put obstacles in their way. And we'll talk about some of those obstacles right now.
Well, what's something they can do? I mean, how can they make improvements?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what they're currently using. Are you using something like Bandzoogle? We mentioned that in the last one. I know they have some kind of shop integration and stuff, but it's extremely limited. And so one thing I want to walk you through is there's some criteria here that I think will help you make a decision, in the end. So number one, is your shop mobile optimized? Is it mobile responsive? That's the word I really want to use, mobile responsive. So for example, if you go to your platform on a mobile device and if anything is hard to read, or if the text is too tiny, or the menu doesn't show, if there's not that little menu icon where you click on it and it opens up and you can see everything going on there. If that's not the case, then your shop is not mobile responsive, and you will turn people away. You will not be making nearly enough sales. And that, unfortunately, a lot of these, musician template cookie cutter websites are not mobile responsive. And so that's something you need to pay attention to.
Wow.
Yeah. Another thing is it slow? Is it slow to load? So that's another thing I don't like about these cookie cutter websites like Bandzoogle and even Bandcamp. It's not too bad, but if the shop is slow to load, you're losing sales. I heard Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon, say at some point that for every split second, and it was actual like a percentage of a second, every percentage of a second that it takes the site to load or a page to load, they lose millions and millions of dollars, which is crazy.
That's insane.
And it's because of people's attention span. They don't want to sit there waiting for a page to load. They're gone.
Right.
So that's another thing to really pay attention to with whatever shop platform you are using.
Right. Make it load fast, guys.
Yeah. Or make sure that the platform that you're using is very quick and optimized specifically for sales. And I don't like these cookie cutter websites that try to integrate a shop and, we do everything. Because guess what? Services that do everything, it's like they do everything mediocre. They're not doing they're not specialists in one thing that they're really good at that one thing. So for example, lead pages, I love lead pages for landing pages. That's the one thing they do. They don't do this, They don't do that, and they don't do everything plus the kitchen sink. They do one thing really, really, really well. And that's, we help people create beautiful landing pages. Right. I don't even know if that's their tagline, but it probably is. So we help people create beautiful, high converting landing pages. I think they might have that word in there. So
right. We're not going to, it's not, you're not going to be telling folks here to custom build, their own online shop.
No,
we're not saying don't use an outside service, just don't use these Bandcamp type stuff. Somebody who really specializes, again, lead pages is a great example. We mentioned in the website episode about things like Squarespace or WordPress. And, so there are services out there, and it's in their vested interest, right, to make their learning curve a pleasant user experience as well. So Leah's a homeschool mom, so she didn't come out of the womb knowing how to make a well-designed website or online store, but she did it, right?
Yeah. And I will say something about Bandcamp, because that's a really popular platform for people to host their music and sell their music. I have had my music on Bandcamp for years. I actually still have music there, but I do not send traffic there anymore. One reason is, there's a couple of reasons, but one of them is the fact that you cannot customize anything other than the colors. You can't customize the layout. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's one thing. The second thing about Bandcamp, and I reached out to them and I talked to them about this, is you cannot install a Facebook pixel there.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. They don't. And I reached out to them about it, and they have no plans to even let you install it. They don't have any plans to integrate that anytime soon. And I know we've had students even ask them about it, and they get the same answer. And for those who don't know what a Facebook pixel is, don't worry about it. We have other podcasts talking about it. It's just a tracking code. It's a really important part of marketing, but it's a tracking code that you can paste into any website, any web page that tracks all the behaviors of the people there. So did they buy something? Did they not buy something? But most importantly, you can retarget them later in your newsfeed and show them ads for things they didn't buy. Well, how is Bandcamp helping musicians right now to market their music by not even allowing something so basic in Marketing 101? Marketing 101 is have a Facebook pixel on every single shop webpage that you own. Why? And it bothers me that they're not even thinking about that, which tells me they're in the dinosaur age.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's why I knew you were going to say that, because, you can ask Leah about the things that bother her, and it'll be like world turmoil and the lack of being able to put a Facebook pixel on a website.
It's exactly right.
That's about the two things I've ever heard her just complain about. But it's so true, because the marketing prowess of something like a Facebook is so powerful, but it's useless to be paying money to throw traffic around to websites if you can't track what's happening on your website. And look at that then in your Facebook ad manager and be able to tell, the results that you got, who purchased, who added to cart, who just looked at the page, et cetera, et cetera. Because you may have somebody, and again, I know this is not the topic, and you've talked about this elsewhere, but if you got, I was surprised even when I first put in my Facebook pixels to find out how many people had added to cart.
Right.
And then
abandoned cart. You got to know these things, because how can you optimize if you don't know what the data says? You can't optimize anything. I can't know, people are getting all the way to the cart, and then 100% of people are abandoning when they get there. Okay, that tells me where the chink in the chain is, right? That tells me that there's a weak link here, and it just helps me solve the problem. So you Marketing 101 is track everything. Yeah. And if your shop platform doesn't allow pixel integration, then that is a problem, and you need to be on a platform that allows pixel integration. So that's reason enough. That's reason enough. Yeah. That almost be like reason number one in this whole podcast would be like, if it doesn't offer that, run away. run far away from that platform.
Yeah, and we'll just give them just one little example. And again, I know we're a little bit off on we're just talking about is the shop mobile optimized, mobile responsive, but again, in relation to this, if you had 100 people, let's say, go through your checkout process for your shop in a given week, and you find out that 30 people or more, 40 people abandoned a cart. In other words, they pick stuff off your store. They got to the checkout place and they left. Now, it may not be because they had a sudden conversion and change of mind. Maybe their kids needed something. Maybe, anything could have happened and they say, oh, I'll just get back to it later. And they never do. But with a Facebook pixel, you're actually able to reach those 30 or 40 people immediately afterwards with retargeting ads. And so a lot of this stuff can even be automated for you. Next thing you know, these people are on Facebook and they start seeing ads that say, hey, you have some stuff you didn't finish getting. How about we throw in another free shipping? How about we throw in 10% off and go ahead and get that? You really wanted it. Why don't you go ahead and get it? And then you start to get those lost sales. That's how important these things are. Now, I know we're talking about some of the detailed stuff that you go into in your courses and in the private groups, but I just think it's so important for people to, if they don't understand it here at this surface level, these kind of details, then we're never going to be able to obliterate these myths that people are going to be sitting there forever scratching their head as to why they're not making money online with their music.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like understanding the nature of just basic data. And guys, listen, I'm not a math girl. I'm definitely a right-brained artist. And if I can understand and learn some of these things, you can too. And this is just like, something else you got to do in life. It's just like, you got to have a budget. You got to know what your groceries are going to cost you, all that stuff. It's just normal life stuff. And this marketing stuff about tracking and data and abandoned carts, this just becomes normal. Once you're immersed in it, it's just like second nature. And it doesn't come overnight, but our students will tell you that after you immerse yourself in this for a few months, you're just like, man, I have a whole new vocabulary. Like I understand what these things mean when Leah's talking about CPAs and how much it costs to acquire a customer and how much it costs to acquire leads. And like, I get it and I know it and it doesn't terrify me and I understand it and I can improve it. So don't be intimidated by this stuff. I'm part of this podcast is educating people. And so that's what we're doing.
What else can people ask themselves about their shop?
I think you really need to ask yourself, how is the experience when people actually check out? So that means they're actually entering in their payment information. They've added things to their cart and they're going through this process, because a lot of times there's multiple steps involved in order to get through to the thank you for your order page. Right. And so you got to walk through that process. Are there any barriers? And so the first thing, like I've seen some really bad websites out there where people try to integrate like a PayPal button or something, and it's just nasty, ugly, not nice, and doesn't take all the different payments. And I mean, it's no secret of mine. I love Shopify. That's what I host my platform on, my shop. And I encourage all of our students in our elite program of an entire module on Shopify and doing merchandise and all that stuff. And I love that they offer, I mean, you can even do Bitcoin on there. They've got different payment options, all the different payment options. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. They've got, let me just go in there right now. I can actually tell you what all they offer, but every credit card you can think of. Let me just go in there. It's really fun. The different things that they will offer now for payment processing. So the main thing though, is that it's clean, that it's not overwhelming to the eye, that everything. So there's like function, there's design, and then there's experience, and then, any potential issues that are going to come up. So if you go, I'm looking in my Shopify account right now, because they actually tell you all the different payments that you can offer. But yeah, they've got Shopify payments. So it's powered by Stripe, and Stripe is kind of like the gold standard of online payments these days. They do offer PayPal, and then they've got other alternative payments. So you can do BitPay. They even let you do lay-by. So you can do layaway, which is crazy. If you had like if you were selling like fireplaces or something, you could do layaway where people are like making payments to you. They have all these different cryptocurrencies on there. So you BitPay, GoCoin, Affirm, some of these I've never even heard of. PayBright, yeah, Coinbase. Yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, I've never seen another platform offer so many different payment methods. So if you are into, if I don't know, some artist is really into like the whole crypto thing, and maybe they even have like a brand kind of base, you could accept all your payments in Bitcoin or some other
How about
cryptocurrency.
that? How about that?
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing is that you have the versatility in these kind of things that you don't necessarily have in, like a band camp or what have you. That's a tremendously empowering thing.
oh yeah, just be able to
Options.
options, yeah, be able to select the whole user experience, and just that's really cool. So another thing is, as you go through the checkout process, so if you have never gone through your own checkout process, you need to. So set something, create a product for free. So if it's on Bandcamp and you're testing this out to go, I really do want to test out Bandcamp on mobile and see what that experience is like for my fans. Well, then set something up for free and go through the checkout process. Order something from yourself. Right. And see what it's like. And then I want you to pay attention. You need to step out of your own head and pretend you are a customer as you're doing this. This is a great exercise for marketing. Pretend that you are this other person, and I want you to ask yourself, what do you like? What do you love? What do you dislike? What do you hate about this process? And at any point, do you feel annoyed by something? I guarantee you that if you feel slightly annoyed, and it takes a lot to just recognize what it is, because I don't think that we are consciously thinking we're annoyed. We just kind of react, right? We just close the window or something. But if you feel slightly annoyed, I can guarantee you that your fans are going to feel annoyed as well. It's going to be a major deterrent to purchasing anything. You're going to end up with tons of abandoned carts. And so unless you know how to retarget them using some of these advanced Facebook tracking and advertising techniques that we teach, your chances of getting this person back are very small to none.
Right. Yeah. Because again, it goes back to what you said earlier, which is if you got this one shot at the first impression, and if this becomes difficult for them, not only will they leave, but they won't come back.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to this about good user experience, that it's got to also feel familiar. There are many, 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 many stores, big stores that are running on Shopify now. I don't know if do you follow the brand like Flag Nor Fail? Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey, they're bodybuilders, have this brand. I follow them. They're really hilarious and cool people. But I saw they switched to Shopify. It's crazy. I'm just seeing these like big brands that everybody's on Shopify. Quest Nutrition, all these, they're all switching there. And so people are very used to the experience and the familiar experience of going through that checkout process. Right. There you have a white background, okay? Take all these funky colors off your shopping checkout experience. You can make your website look a certain way. Even your shop page could look a certain way, although white backgrounds convert the best. From what we've seen in the e-commerce world, white backgrounds work better. But as you go through that checkout process, it needs to feel familiar. Familiarity creates trust. Right. And when you have trust, the likelihood of them completing their checkout is significantly greater.
Isn't that? Yeah, and I think that is such a huge point to make, because even at the base level in something like a Shopify, which a store you could set up literally in minutes, right? I mean, and sell a single product literally within minutes, that checkout feature is, without even doing any major customization, is going to be familiar and reminiscent of what high dollar operations are also doing on Shopify, because the basic structure is the same and the default position is going to be white, right? And so, yeah, I mean, just right out of the box, so to speak, with something like a Shopify, you would be giving people a very professional experience. So all to say is it's not tough, once you go through the user experience, and yourself, and see if there's any snags or whatever, it's not tough for you to be able to create something that's going to be very pleasant and get a whole lot more sales from, because so much of the work has been done for you through sites like Shopify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good point.
What else?
The last thing I really wanted to bring, actually, there's a couple more things, but okay, let me just start that over. Okay, so the next point I wanted to bring up is to make sure that it's crystal clear to people how they can buy your music or merchandise. And this sounds a little bit silly to bring this up, but 99% of the musicians I work with don't initially have this dialed in on their shop and even on their website, like where to direct people. They think that just because their music is available and it's somewhere out there in the universe somewhere, that people are going to figure out how to buy it and where to buy it. And this is really not true. So for example, on my shop, I have a shop button, and I also have a button on the main header, like buy now, or, check out the music here. And it's a button that's prominently on the website. In fact, it's part of our 3 to 5 second website test that we teach in our program is, someone needs to understand within 3 to 5 seconds on that website, who you are, what kind of music you make, and where can they buy it. Those 3 things need to happen. And so the same thing on your shop, people need to understand that it's a continuation. It's kind of a continuation of your website, but it's certainly of your brand. And where and how do they buy something? This has got to be super clear. And I have to bring this up, and it sounds so, kindergarten. But for example, if you were to go to a CD Baby page, that is not clear. I actually have no idea which button to click. There's too many buttons. There's menus everywhere. There's stuff like randomly all over the place. I actually don't know how to buy this music. You're making it hard for me. You're making me think. If you make me use my brain, I'm out of there. You required me to burn too much glucose. So that's enough. Like, people are gone.
Yeah.
So, make it so prominent. Buy now, bright colored buttons. Even using all caps once in a while can work. Like shop now, big all caps, and then like make sure that button is contrasted from the background, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Remember that always, and this is from a design and marketing standpoint, that simplicity is strength. And that our tendency is to busy things up, whether it's a email we're writing or, what we're trying to portray visually. We always tend to busy things up. And that's what it sounds like a CD Baby is doing, is just putting way too much clutter. Your site is there, not for your ego. Your site, your shop is there to sell your music, sell your merchandise. And that's why that person came there. They didn't come to the shop or to the shop store to read your bio or necessarily just, listen online, so to speak. They have an interest. They're kicking a tire. There's an interest that they have there. Make that information easily accessible, and keep things prominent. It's not being salesy. It's being clear. There's a difference.
Yeah, that's so good. And that's the other reason I like Shopify, is because it's actually optimized for one thing, and that is get a sale. It's optimized for sales, for people to buy stuff, as opposed to some of these other platforms. I know there's like WooCommerce plugin stuff. Again, you're trying to integrate a different experience into a platform where they came there for a different reason. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's 100% wrong to do that. There's probably people out there making that work. So great. This is just from my experience and what I've seen really work well. And man, Shopify is amazing. They really have, they have great free templates, and they have some great premium templates, and they're all designed to help people do that one thing, which is buy something.
All right. Awesome. Well, what else? What else can they do? Or what question can they ask themselves about their shopper's experience?
Yeah. And I just want, there's another point here that we talked about in the previous episode about website. And that is that, your website and your shop, they're 2 different user experiences. I prefer to separate them. So if you didn't catch that episode, go back and listen to that, because we just really fleshed that out a lot for you about what do we mean by that. But your website is where people are coming to learn about you. They're reading your bio, browsing discography. They're going to learn about your tour schedule, photos, and all that stuff. They're browsing, they're learning, they're browsing. They're not necessarily there to pull out their credit card. But your shop is where people go to do one thing. You go to the bathroom because you do one thing there. Right. I don't know why I thought of that, but
I do several things in there. No,
I'm sure people do.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, that's right. There's a purpose intended when you go into certain rooms of your house. You go to the living room to watch TV, So I just see.
Your toilet's not in the living room. There's
right.
a separate place for that. unless you're in prison, but there's a separate place for that. So everything has its function. Now, typically, I know, it's funny, Leah, how quickly something can become dated in terms of technology. Um, so, it was the norm for people to be thinking, oh, I want my store integrated with, I want everything all in one particular site. Well, that's a complicated thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, just from that standpoint, you have to get developers in there and do all kinds of stuff. But the Shopify thing it's just like you said, it is so geared for that one thing, sales. And I wouldn't do anything that's going to interrupt that process.
Yes, exactly. And
If they end up at your website, right, there's a prominent place to click up. Do all that there. I mean, they're learning about you and your music and your background and all this sort. But when it comes to shopping, man, you just direct them to something that's completely dedicated to that.
yeah, that's good. Hang on a second because you're frozen.
Did I lose?
Try turning off your video for a second. That can help.
Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think we're back.
Am I back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I love about Shopify. And there's a couple other important things I want to point out when you are considering where you're going to host your music and sell merchandise for more sales. And that one of them is CRM integration. And all I mean by that is, does it connect to a email service provider, something like MailChimp or Drip? Drip is my favorite one, or Aweber, one of those things. Make sure that it is connecting. Don't collect emails on Bandzoogle or on this third-party platform. Bad idea. Really bad idea. I mean, anything could happen. Horror stories, people losing all those contacts, list disappearing. You want control of these things, of your email list. And so you need to be using a proper CRM, customer service, or what does it stand for? CRM, customer retention management. I don't know, customer relation management provider, whatever. CRM or customer. Well, I think my brain just ran out of glucose now.
We'll just go CRM for short.
Yeah. So make sure you're using an email service provider and that it connects to your shop. So every time someone buys something, it should automatically zap them into your email account provider, and then they should start getting emails from you. I mean, if you're not doing that, oh my gosh, no wonder you're not making money, because anytime someone's buying something from you, if that's the last they hear from you, goodbye, and then no follow-up. That's like going on a really great date and then never calling them ever again. Mm-hmm. Bad. So,
and I do that all the time. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So CRM integration. The next thing I was going to say is there's other things that you want to consider, like being able to customize the shipping experience. So, and I say experience because, some people want maybe prioritize shipping or overnight something if possible. And you can do these sorts of things with Shopify and different apps that they have. So they have tons and tons and tons and tons of third-party apps that you can experiment with. And the other thing I was going to say is print on demand, which I'm a huge fan of. And we'll do a whole other show on that one too. Yeah. Print on demand, so amazing. You don't even have to worry about overhead or stocking items, and you can test things without spending a bunch of money on it just to see, does it sell at all? I mean, I love it. So all of this stuff, yes. I would say when you're trying to choose a shop platform, make sure that all of these things can work for you on that shop platform. Again, I love Shopify. There's nothing in it for me to tell you that, other than I just highly recommend it. I've done a lot of money on Shopify in my own music business. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, I used to use, I've used a few. The last one I had before Shopify was BigCommerce. And BigCommerce, they're working hard, but that's just it. They're working hard to try and catch up to compete with Shopify. So I just switched to Shopify. And yeah, for all of the reasons that Leah just mentioned, it's the same thing for me and doing what I do. So yeah, guys, I mean, think about the user experience. That's paramount throughout all of this. We talked about website last time. Again, it's all about the user experience. Shopping, it's also all about the user experience throughout this whole 5-part series on why your music isn't making any money. Next time, Leah, we're going to be talking about how to ask for a sale. That'll be interesting.
I'm going to love it. Yeah, it's going to be really good. And by the way, guys, before we sign off here, if you are interested in signing up for Shopify, we actually do have a student discount that we have gotten from them. So that link will be in the show notes.
Awesome. Leah, thank you once again.
Thanks, CJ. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
This episode was sponsored by the Superfan System Elite program here at Savvy Musician Academy. If you are looking to scale your existing music business and you're looking to get into advanced digital marketing, such as email marketing, funnels, e-commerce, Facebook ads, and more, and you're looking to build a real profitable online music business, book a call with our team at www.callsma.com. We would love to speak with you for about 30 minutes and see how we can help you. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.